Gojo is a lonely loser who, instead of having friends, is too busy busting a fat one to his Hina dolls, but everything changes when he meets a busty cosplay freak who turns Gojo into a costume-making expert. Years ago, Gojo saw for the first time a beautiful Hina doll created by his grandpa Kaoru. Seeing how much Gojo was in love with it, Kaoru told Gojo that if he trained hard, not only could he beat Sukuna, but he could also make Hina dolls like him. However, days later, his childhood friend told Gojo that she hated him, stating that a boy like him should have been more interested in Mia Khalifa rather than some creepy Hina dolls, which hurt Gojo's feelings. Gojo wakes up from that nightmare, but after calming himself down, he looks at his favorite Hina doll and busts his cream to it to start the morning. He greets his maidenless grandpa, prays to his clapped parents, and prepares breakfast. They start talking about Hina dolls, and while Gojo is at making the faces, Kaoru praises him for his ability in making the costumes. Just then, he asks Gojo if he has friends, which surprises him, and Gojo lies to his grandpa, stating that not only does he have his homies, but he also claps cheeks on the daily. Then, Gojo goes to school where a guy gets friendly with him, but after realizing it's not his buddy, the guy runs away from Gojo, leaving him friendless. Gojo sits in his class, apologizing to his grandpa about how he, a riskless loser, lied to his grandpa about having friends. Gojo looks around the people around him and thinks to himself that because of how different his interests are from theirs, it's better if he just disappears. Just then, a gal baddie flies at his desk, hitting herself in the head, and when Gojo sees who it is, it turns out to be the school's hottest babe, Marin. She assures him that she's fine, and when she sees the ink mark on Gojo's hand, she starts stroking it out of curiosity, almost folding him like a chair. After Gojo assures her that he's fine, Marin goes to talk with her friends, and when Gojo looks really close, he sees that Marin is such a different person from him. At that moment, Marin's friend, Noah, gossips with the group about how a guy tried rizzing Marin by making fun of her love for anime, but only to get rejected and get called a glizzy gobbler. Marin tells her friends that she would never let anyone make fun of what she loves, and after hearing this, Gojo realizes that, unlike him, Marin is not a spineless wimp who can't stand up for himself. After school, Gojo takes responsibility for cleaning duty after letting his fellow classmates go home, leaving him with all the work. He realizes how much of a pushover he is, but he's okay at it as long as he doesn't make things awkward for himself. Just then, Marin walks in, and to Gojo's surprise, she starts cleaning. He asks her what she's doing, and Marin tells him that it's her duty to clean and asks him back why he's cleaning all alone. He tells her what happened, and when she asks him if they are taking advantage of him, Gojo says yes, and feels that it's because he's reliable. However, Marin scolds him for it, stating that he's being used and should speak up about his feelings for his own sake. At home, it frustrates Gojo with how right Marin is, causing him to get into an accident while mewing, causing his hand to bleed. Just then, he realizes that his sewing machine is broken, and Kaoru tells him that the device is older than your mum's gooch, hence why it's broken. The next day, he goes to the school's economics club to use the sewing machine, but when he's in the middle of whispering some dirty words to the doll like a creep, Marin pops up, surprising Gojo. The doll falls, and when Gojo saves it, Marin looks at him like how prisoners look at Diddy in their cell. Just as Gojo thinks that his life is over, Marin glazes Gojo, saying how much of a Sigma he is for knowing how to sew and stitch. He informs her that his family owns a Hina doll business, and Marin appreciates the doll Gojo is holding, which makes him very happy to see that for the first time, someone appreciates what he likes. After finding out that Gojo can sew clothes, Marin takes off her clothes and tells Gojo to look away. While he's thinking that the scenario is the same as the Johnny Sins fashion designer video he once saw, Marin shyly reveals a homemade costume she made. She reveals that it's a cosplay from an anime, and after seeing the inspiration, Gojo starts roasting Marin's craft, stating that a blind grandmother can make a better costume. As Gojo continues criticizing the costume, he realizes that Marin is crying and he starts apologizing. She assures him that she's not angry and instead declares that she made that costume because she wanted to cosplay as her favorite anime characters as a form of her expression. She then asks Gojo that because she's not very good at sewing, she wants him to make her a cosplay outfit. Seeing how passionate she is and how kind Marin is as a person, Gojo accepts her request and states that he will do it. Marin starts dancing out of happiness, and Gojo sees that despite them being polar opposites, it surprises him to know that he's capable of promising her something like this. Then Marin yaps about the character she's cosplaying, Shizuku, who comes from corn games that are intended to give lonely losers like you some creamy comfort. At first, Wakana convinces himself that she's yapping complete degenerate nonsense, but after seeing how serious Marin is, he realizes that Marin is truly as degenerate as Annie Ender's viewers. He asks Marin why a girl like her would play those kinds of games that are usually catered for boys who are virgin losers, and she tells him that gender has nothing to do with what a person is passionate about, which opens Gojo's eyes as he is the same with his girl-catered Hina dolls. He expresses his excitement towards this project, even tearing up about it, and when he discusses the materials to use, Marin shows him a guidebook for making cosplay costumes. They read the inside, seeing how easy it is to do, and both questions at the same time, why is Marin so at it despite already having this tutorial? She suggests they start getting her measurements, but being already late, Gojo suggests that they do it after the weekend, and Marin thanks him, expressing her excitement for Monday. However, the next morning, someone rings the door, and when Gojo opens it, Marin is there. Surprised, Gojo asks her how she got his address, and she tells him that the internet can be used to find his store, and that she can't wait till Monday to become Shizuku. She hands him a cheesecake, walks right in, not caring about his opinion, and heads straight towards his room. She points out how his room looks basic just like him, but when she sees his brush collections, she starts asking questions. Meanwhile, Gojo phases out and is too focused on her rice cakes, but just as he's about to get lost in her sauce, she brings him back to earth. She asks him to quickly do her, and while he thinks he's about to jiggle her jugs, she tells him to take her measurements. It causes Gojo to hesitate, and while Marin thinks that Gojo suddenly doesn't want to help her, Gojo assures her that it's not the case, and that it's because she has to be in her underwear for him to measure. It's not an issue for Marin as she shows him her jiggle physics, stating that she's wearing a swimsuit, knowing Gojo will be flustered by it. To help him at his job, Marin suggests that she will close her eyes, and when she does, Gojo gets to work. He struggles at it, trying to take her measurements while his inches below are also increasing in measurement. But with the image of your ugly father getting porked by 3 dudes, Gojo distracts himself and powers through. Then, when it's time to measure her feet, she sits down on his futon, and Gojo starts tweaking due to how dirty it is. She starts posing out of fun and gives him her feet as if telling him to lick them, which is what you losers would love to do. To everyone's disappointment, he measures them without doing anything. Then she asks him to measure her bust size, and while it takes some convincing, Gojo does it while thinking that he's measuring an obese guy's jugs. She asks him to also measure the measurement between her 2 pepperoni, and when she realizes that she's out of line, she does it herself and tells Gojo there's a 7-inch distance between the 2 buttons, which gets Gojo's mind to wander about some other inches. Lastly, she asks to measure her legs, and being already drained, Gojo does it seamlessly, but he accidentally touches her roast beef, which causes her to make happy noises. He looks up to see Marin blushing, and when he asks what's wrong, she assures him that she's okay, not wanting him to know that her lower lips are drooling. He goes to turn on the air conditioner, leaving Marin frustrated and wanting Gojo to expand her domain. Afterward, Marin gives him some materials for him to reference for Shizuku in the form of the corn games, but when he looks at her, he sees the plotful state she is in, and holds back his anaconda. That night, Grandpa walks into Gojo playing the corn games with a focus sharper than John Wick's, and Grandpa realizes that if Gojo ever gets himself a girl, he will be on demon time. Later, Gojo dreams about finishing Marin's Shizuku costume, but before he gets to put the wig on her, Marin starts heating up. She states that in her cosplay, she gets in character deeply, and as Shizuku, she wants nothing more than for Gojo to be her master and treat her the 50 Shades way, ending with her as his love slave. Gojo wakes up realizing it's a wet dream, and when he looks down, he realizes that his blanket is stained with his creamy baby batter. Damn! He looks at his doll, apologizes to her, and whacks another one out. After a morning pump session, he goes to school where Marin greets him, but because of his dream last night, all he imagines is her giving him the hawk tuah. Marin's friend, Noah, shows up to greet him, and not before long, more of Marin's friends show up to greet him, making it seem like his lucky day. One of Marin's friends points out that Gojo is uncomfortable with this many hot babes around him. Marin disagrees and squeezes her melons on Gojo, causing him to fold and agree with her. When Marin and her gang leave, Gojo realizes that even at school, Marin doesn't treat him any differently, but when he looks around, He can see people gossiping about Marin talking to a loser like him. For the whole day, Gojo keeps avoiding Marin's attempt to talk to him, and despite her best efforts, Gojo manages to get away every time. After school, Marin manages to chase Gojo to ask him to go shopping with her, but realizing that people are looking, Gojo declines her offer and runs away. He hides in a corner, and when he apologizes to Marin, she pops up beside him, telling him to put on his big boy pants and say it to her face. Gojo vents about how people are gossiping about them, which Marin doesn't care about, stating that she doesn't mind being seen with him in public as they are friends. It surprises Gojo to hear that, and Marin pulls him to her, dragging Gojo to go shopping with her. They arrive at the cosplay shop where they look at materials, and Gojo shows Marin his sketch of what's needed to make a costume, shocking Marin with his commitment. From all the materials, Gojo suggests that they pick the more expensive one, but being a broke, he can't afford it. However, Marin, being a sugar mama, pulls out a money envelope and assures Gojo that as long as money is around, he can go wild with the spending. Then they go to a wig store where Gojo almost wets his pants white from all the beautiful wigs he sees. Marin suggests the black-colored wig to follow Shizuku's hair color. But having played the game all night, Gojo suggests that they pick the dark purple one to follow the color in the game. Marin expresses her appreciation for Gojo helping her, and Gojo feels happy knowing that he's not a useless bum today. Later, she takes him to a lingerie store to get some stockings, and when Marin is trying them out, Gojo is panicking, not knowing whether to look or to whip it out to assert dominance. Just then, Marin shows him her smooth legs, stating that after his help today, he deserves fan service, which Gojo declines. Afterward, they go to eat at a soba shop, and upon leaving, people notice how they look like a couple, but when they start talking about the game where Shizuku gets passed around like a blunt, they all think that this couple is crazy. On their walk back home, Marin talks about cosplayers, especially Juju, her favorite cosplayer. She points out how beautiful the cosplayers are, but Gojo doesn't say anything, so Marin asks him if he doesn't think they're beautiful. Instead of answering, Gojo tells Marin that the word beautiful for him is special, and that the only time he ever called something beautiful was when he first laid his eyes on Hina dolls. Marin understands his sentiment completely, and just then, she sees a meat onigiri vendor, so being a gluttonous pig, Marin buys some. She keeps offering Gojo a bite, but he declines it, thinking to himself that everything Marin eats probably gets stored in her jugs and cheeks. Suddenly, Marin asks Gojo if he thinks that she's fattening herself, and despite not answering, Marin can see his facial reaction clearly and assures him that she will only get fatter in the right places. Just then, she looks into cosplay events and tells Gojo that the one they will be attending is in 2 weeks, and after hearing this, Gojo realizes he's screwed as it's impossible for him to finish the costume by then. On the train home, Gojo thinks about what he needs to do with the costume, realizing he doesn't have enough time, but when he imagines Marin in tears and disappointed, it drags down his morale even more. Back home, Grandpa greets him back, and when he asks Gojo where he's been, he tells Grandpa that he has been shopping with his friend. Just then, his shopping bag drops, and from it slips out a lacy underwear. Upon seeing it, Kaoru falls down backward out of shock, questioning if his grandson dreams of becoming a ladyboy. He takes Kaoru to the hospital, and Gojo meets his cousin Mayuri, who insists that Kaoru spends the night at her place. Days later, Gojo is back at school and informs Marin about what happened to his grandpa. Seeing how sad he is, Marin tells Gojo that she will do anything to help him, offering him her cooking, which Gojo appreciates. Marin offers to exchange numbers, and he accepts it as Marin wants to keep in contact just in case. On their walk to class, Marin sees the midterm schedule, and Gojo realizes that he forgot about the midterm tests, which will take more time from his costume making. Later at home, he gets a phone call from a customer who wants to tour the place to see Hina dolls, and while Gojo declines at first, he folds and promises to give them a tour, which takes even more time from his costume making. It leaves him distraught, not knowing what to do or if he will make it in time, but being the Sigma that he is, he powers through. He creates the costume while still giving a tour and studying for the midterms, and by the end of the week, it leaves him drained of his energy, just like how I was after spending a night with your mom. Damn! When the exam ends, Marin notices that Gojo looks down, so she tries to come visit him with food in her hand. When she tries to come inside, Gojo doesn't respond, and she concludes that he's not there, so she goes home, worrying about his well-being. Meanwhile, Gojo is inside his messy house, completely cooked after the hectic week, and he is sick while the costume is nowhere near finished. He looks at his brushes, which reminds him of how his grandpa once told him that despite him being good at making henna dolls, he had to practice every day to stay on top of it. He starts crying and questions why he's a half loser who's not good enough at anything. But when he digs deep into himself, remembering why he started loving henna dolls, it brings him back to reality. With Marin's smile on his mind, it triggers the inner MC plot armor inside Gojo, one that would have saved Shibuya. But for this Gojo, he puts his headband on Yukiura style and starts cooking to make the costume deep into the night. The next morning, he texts Marin to tell her that it's finished, and when she goes to look at it, she can't believe her eyes. Gojo tells her that with this, she can go to her event, but in shock, Marin informs him that she's not going to the event, knowing that it's impossible for Gojo to finish it in 2 weeks. Hearing this, Gojo collapses to the floor and sighs in relief, not knowing that he actually had more time. Suddenly, Marin starts crying, apologizing for not telling him, and feeling guilty for making him go through hell while his grandpa is sick. Wanting to ease the tension, Gojo suggests that Marin tries out the outfit so they can see how it fits. He starts by styling her hair, and then getting her the correct look and makeup to ensure she looks like Shizuku. He pulls out some fake eyelashes, and while Marin initially thinks they belong to his hidden baby mamas, Gojo informs her that it's for his henna dolls. He shows her multiple pictures of the henna dolls, which Marin responds with excitement, and Gojo expresses that just like his grandpa, he wishes he would one day become a henna doll maker. Marin tells him that he will be, stating that if anyone could do it, it's him. Gojo smiles at her, and she folds seeing him smile for the first time. Then Marin puts on the costume from the stockings to the wig, and when Gojo finally gets to see his masterpiece, he tells Marin that she is the perfect Shizuku, which makes her happier than ever. They both start hyping up Marin's cosplay, and while Marin informs him that it's a little difficult to move in, she shows him her jiggle physics to tell him that he did brilliantly in making the costume jizz-worthy. She asks him to take pictures of her, and when she poses like her usual cute self, Gojo asks for another pose, but this time exactly like Shizuku. Marin channels her inner Shizuku, and while she keeps grinning at first out of excitement, she manages to give Gojo a look that will fuel his night pump session for the next week. They take more pictures from multiple poses, and when they have enough, Marin posts them on her newly created cosplay account. Being hyped with her new look, Marin suddenly asks Gojo to the cosplay event, wanting to show it off. The next day, they arrive at the cosplay event where fictional characters like your girlfriend come to life, and while Marin is hyped seeing her favorite cosplayers in person, Gojo feels nervous seeing this many baddies in one place after never having touched one before Marin. He points out that everyone is looking at him in his yee outfit, but Marin assures him that they're not looking at him, but at her wonderful, well-crafted jiggly milk bags. Then, they move location, and while they're admiring someone's huge rack, a fat and slimy photographer asks for a picture. Marin can't believe that someone wants her picture, so she agrees to it while Gojo gets out of her way. After getting her pictures taken, Marin asks the photographer to take a selfie with her, and when he agrees, they smile at the camera while the guy is blushing, trying his best not to bust his cream cap. Just then, more people ask Marin for a picture, and Gojo just realizes that people are lining up for Marin's picture. He looks around to see girls cosplaying their favorite characters and guys cosplaying pickle-tickling materials, and here, Gojo feels welcomed in a place where people are free to express themselves without judgment. Gojo remembers how he started with a promise to Marin, but here he realizes that with his promise fulfilled, he won't be hanging out with her anymore. To Gojo, Marin has given him so many first times in his life, from shopping with a friend for the first time to lingerie shopping with a baddie for the first time. Suddenly, Marin flashes Gojo a smile and runs towards him in slow motion like she's in a Zack Snyder movie. She arrives wet in full sweat, and while Gojo thinks about her asking him to get her wetter, Marin tells him that she's about to blow. She informs him that after their previous photo shoot, she wanted to become so much like Shizuku that she increased her bust size by using pads, which now causes her to suffocate and overheat. He takes her inside where there's an air conditioner and helps her cool off. During it, he can't help but stare at her jiggle bags where Marin is sweating. And when she asks him to wipe her back, Gojo starts being wimpy. However, he pulls through and wipes her, but during it, she makes loud happy noises like Pokemon fans when they bust to a picture of Muto. Later, they go back to one last photographer, and just as she's about to take Marin's picture, The anime gods blow a wind that lifts up her skirt and shows the number 17, which is the number of men who have pumped and dumped inside the character Shizuku. But Marin doesn't get fazed as she's still in character. Afterward, they ride a train to go home where Gojo feels sad to know that this is the end of their adventure, and he thanks her for the experience. But to his surprise, Marin asks him what cosplay they should do next. Gojo feels happy hearing this, and after seeing his facial reactions, Marin teases him for being happy to be with a baddie like her, and he tells her that he looks forward to working with her more. Moments later, Gojo is starting to fall asleep, but before he completely dozes off, he tells Marin that she is beautiful, which is not something he says lightly. Marin realizes this, gets shocked, and comes to a realization that she also holds feelings for him. The next day, the two gather at Gojo's place to wash the wig, but when Gojo is explaining to Marin how to do it, Marin can't help but see Gojo like he's her future baby daddy. Meanwhile, Kaoru arrives home, and when he enters, he sees Gojo greeting him with Marin beside him, which almost sends Grandpa back to the hospital. After explaining the truth, Gojo assures him that no clapping happened, which surprises Marin a little bit. Seeing the costume, Kaoru praises Gojo for his work, but while the two guys are discussing it, Marin is in the background, realizing that she has fallen in love with Gojo. She's unable to contain her excitement, but during it, her stomach grumbles, and while she's embarrassed by it, they offer her to have dinner at their place. Then they eat together, and after learning that Gojo lost both his parents, Marin informs him that she also lost her mother while her father works far away. It leaves her alone to cook for herself, and when she shows them the food she usually eats, which looks like a plate of cholesterol, they get worried and offer that she have dinner with them more often, which she happily accepts. Later, Gojo walks Marin to the station, and before she gets to say her goodbyes, she wishes she could have stayed longer. On the train, Marin thinks deeply about how Gojo told his grandpa that they didn't clap. The next day, it's raining and Grandpa finds a drenched girl outside, so he invites her inside, thinking she's part of Gojo's harem. Later, Kaoru informs Gojo that his friend is here before leaving, and Gojo panics, not knowing who the old fart brought in. He quickly confronts her but gets greeted by a girl in her bathing suit, and when she suddenly slips, Gojo gets to see her roast beef. After they calm themselves down, she introduces herself as Sejuna, who is here to take a look at the clothes made by Gojo. He happily takes her on a tour to see the Hina dolls, thinking it's what she asked for, but while Sejuna does enjoy looking at the Hina dolls, he asks this buffon why he's showing her this. She tells him that she's here for the cosplay outfits, shows him the Marin picture she saw, and demands that Gojo makes her a cosplay outfit. Gojo informs her that he doesn't sell cosplay outfits, but after hearing this, Sejuna uses blackmail and tells Gojo that if he doesn't make her an outfit, she will report him to the FBI for seeing her smooth starfish in the bathroom earlier. She demands that he make an outfit for her, Juju, but after hearing her name, Gojo realizes that she is the cosplayer that Marin loves so much. He asks her how she found him, and Juju reveals that after seeing Marin's outfit, she stalked them during the cosplay event all the way to Gojo's place. Later, Marin pops up, and after finding out that she is Juju, she starts geeking out. It turns even worse when Marin finds out that Juju actually saw her pictures, as now she wants to ogle her idol even more. After calming down, Juju asks Gojo to make her a cosplay of Cheyenne, who is a magical girl from the Walmart Sailor Moon. As Marin is explaining the lore to Gojo, Juju is impressed to see Marin's knowledge about it, and that she's not just cosplaying to flaunt her sweet cheeks around. Seeing how passionate Marin is about this, Juju suggests that she also cosplay Cheyenne, but Marin refuses as she's too tall and busty for Cheyenne, which would destroy Cheyenne's image. Juju can't believe what she's hearing, deeming Marin the type of cosplayer that she loves, and Juju starts crying out of guilt for thinking that Marin is just some basic has no cosplay knowledge. Then Juju gives Gojo her contact and assures them that she won't ask for any willy pics, and when Marin asks what she's blabbering about, Juju tells them that she assumed that they are a couple. Gojo starts panicking, assuring that he never dated anyone, while Marin is more jolly than a fat guy seeing a burger after knowing that Gojo is currently maidenless. Just then, Marin shyly suggests that she cosplay as Neon, Cheyenne's sister, and that they cosplay together, but Juju declines her, ruining Marin's dream. Despite Marin's begging, Juju stays firm in her not wanting to do group cosplays, and that she even plans to rent a studio for her Cheyenne cosplay. However, when Marin declares that she's willing to split the studio rental fee, Juju has second thoughts about rejecting her. After some thinking, Juju agrees to let Marin cosplay with her this one time, and after hearing this, Gojo plans to watch the whole anime right away as a reference. He checks on the anime he's going to watch, and after Marin informs him that it's over 100 episodes, he realizes that its pacing is almost as as One Piece. That night, after handing his Hina doll to his grandpa for inspection, Gojo tells his grandpa that he's going to Marin's place to binge watch the full anime. At that moment, Gojo feels nervous seeing his Hina doll getting inspected, knowing that he hasn't been practicing ever since he started helping Marin. But to his surprise, Kaoru praises him for improving his craft. He tells Gojo that being with Marin made him better as doing her makeup helped Gojo improve in drawing the doll's face. The next day, Gojo goes to Marin's place, and after ringing the bell a few times, Marin opens the door with her melons hanging. He looks at her melons and remembers how he measured her, but not before long, Marin looks at herself in the mirror and starts panicking after forgetting to wear his colored contacts. Moments later, he lets Gojo in, and he gives her some expensive pudding inspired by her puddings, but after Marin leaves the room, Gojo starts hyperventilating, realizing that he is inside Marin's place. Still nervous, Marin invites him to her room, but after seeing how Marin is also a 2D-loving loser like you, Gojo's anxiety vanishes. Then, they watch an anime where the show they're watching has better animation than Blue Lock and is an edgier version of Sailor Moon. Suddenly, Marin realizes that what they're doing is a home date, and she starts blushing out of happiness, knowing that it's just the two of them. However, the anime gods decide to block her by making her stomach grumble, stopping their momentum, and she feels betrayed by her own stomach from the chance of her getting Gojo's willy. He suggests that he buy her food, but Marin refuses as she wants to cook for him. And after hearing this, Gojo feels scared, knowing that her cooking can start another plague. Marin goes to the kitchen, and after seeing what's on her fridge, she decides to make omurice as she imagines that Gojo would want to have her babies after eating it. At first, everything is going well for Marin as her cooking tastes great, but it ends up looking like shit, and it makes her what Gordon Ramsay would call an idiot sandwich. However, after taking a spoonful, Gojo tells Marin that it tastes very good, and Marin is happy to hear that, but unbeknownst to her, Gojo thinks that she made fried rice. After getting home, Gojo contacts Juju to discuss the costume, and after seeing all of Juju's cosplays, he wonders how she manages to make her eyes look different. She FaceTimes him and informs him that they can use tape to change their eye shape and even jaw shape without mewing. Gojo expresses his excitement with this new knowledge he is getting, and when Juju finds out that he is new in the cosplay business, she feels amazed by him. Just then, Juju notices that Marin's pictures are taken using a smartphone instead of a camera, so she tells Gojo that during their cosplay session, they will be using her camera and her sister will be the one taking their pictures. They set up a meeting with Juju's younger sister at a family restaurant, and when Gojo texts Marin about it, she expresses how much she can't wait by telling him through a call. She tells Gojo how she expects Juju's younger sister to be as cute as Juju, but on the day of the meeting, their expectations are destroyed as Juju's sister, Shinju, looks like a busty behemoth compared to Juju. Then, Shinju shows Marin her pictures of Juju, and while Marin is impressed, Juju informs them that it was Shinju who created her account and the name Juju. While Juju initially only wanted to cosplay for herself, Shinju thought that her sister looked so cute that the whole world had to see her, so she created the account. It gained everyone's attention, and not before long, Juju became a big name in the cosplay community, and it all started because of Shinju. Marin points out how Shinju must love her sister, and when Shinju expresses how much she does, Juju is unable to keep herself from blushing. Then Shinju pulls out her father's camera, the same camera she used to take Juju's pictures, and teaches both Gojo and Marin how to use cameras. Out of curiosity, Marin asks Shinju if she wants to use her milkers for good use in cosplay like her sister, and she tells them that she doesn't want to, but Gojo sees something different despite her not wanting to cosplay. Then, Marin borrows the camera to take random pictures, and she makes it her mission to buy one, but when Gojo goes to look at camera prices, he is surprised to know that cameras cost a kidney and a night as a granny's gigolo. The next day, they all meet up to look at a haunted house-themed studio. There, while the others are excited to explore the place, Juju is scared but when asked, she puts on a tough face in front of them. As they get deeper into the studio, Marin points out how it's too dark, but being the photography expert, Shinju informs her that the darkness is perfect for their cosplay photos. Just then, it starts raining, and Gojo notices that Juju is on the floor shivering and scared of the prospect that Diddy might pop up to start diddling around. Gojo tells Juju that she is forcing herself to stay there, but she refuses to leave despite being scared because she wants to cosplay Cheyenne. She asks Gojo if he has a dream, and he tells her that he wants to either be the next Johnny Sins or a Hina doll creator. After hearing Gojo's beautiful dream, Juju shares her dream of wanting to be a magical girl where she can wear cute outfits and clap monsters from the face of the earth. However, she found out quickly that being a magical girl is as real as you losers getting a girlfriend. But one day, she found out that she could buy the outfits. She looked in the mirror to see herself in the raggedy cosplay, but to her, it was everything she hoped for. Gojo asks her why she picked him to make her cosplay, and she admits that when she first saw Marin's outfit, she was jealous and wanted nothing more than to find the person who made it, as Juju had fallen in love with it. Just then, Gojo is able to relate to her words and remembers how when he first saw the Hina dolls his grandpa created. It was love at first sight for Gojo, and it made him the man he is today. Gojo starts crying, and he scares off Juju, who thinks that he has been possessed. He grabs her hand to thank her, but during it, she malfunctions as she never had a man hold her hands before, which ends in her collapsing to Gojo's riz. Days later, Gojo finishes the exam, and just then, Marin asks him to go to the beach with her. He gets confused about why are they suddenly at the beach, and after some thinking, he realizes that Marin needs him here to help her take some pictures of her. However, Marin tells him that they are here just to enjoy their youth, which is what Hachimen would hate, and Gojo realizes that this kind of proactivity is exactly what Marin would do. While holding a burger, Marin asks Gojo for some fries, and while she's opening her mouth big enough to gobble a glizzy, a hawk steals her burger. Then they set up a mat to sit on, and while sharing a burger, they enjoy their own little picnic like a couple. Just then, Marin decides to dip her feet into the sea, not caring about getting wet, but while she's having fun in there, Gojo can see her black lace galore, which almost got him bricked up. Marin tells him to join her, enthusiastically jumping up and down for him, and when he does, Gojo starts panicking as he never experienced having his feet in the sea. It surprises Marin that Gojo has never visited the beach, and Gojo reveals that for all his life, he spent his time drawing faces on dolls, not caring about which Kardashian got pregnant or what brand new iPhone came out. He reveals how his grandpa always told him to experience places as he never goes anywhere, and now he agrees with his grandpa's as he finally sees how beautiful the sea is. After hearing this, Marin shyly tells Gojo that during the summer break, they should go to more places, just the two of them, and Gojo happily agrees to. She walks away blushing, refusing to believe that her Sigma Riz worked on Gojo, but she feels excited that she gets to spend time with Gojo through the summer. Just then, Marin sees how Gojo is cosplaying a wimpy emo boy who wants to get his freedom from the Titans, and when she takes a picture, she sees how handsome Gojo actually is. Days later, Gojo and Marin had just gotten back from shopping when Marin lifts up her skirt to show Gojo her new swimsuit. She tells Gojo it's the same swimsuit in the picture she sent him the night before, and she doesn't understand why Gojo didn't give her any opinion. But what Marin didn't know was that the night before, he released so much baby batter to her picture. Marin knows something spicy happened and starts teasing Gojo for it, but she orders her not to touch him as his golden pickle is about to burst. Then Marin helps create a black stone for her cosplay, and she feels happy to know she is useful, which reminds Gojo of how he felt the first time he felt useful for her. Just then, Marin wants to try on the cosplay, and when she wants to show Gojo her new bra, she closes it back, realizing she's not wearing the one she wanted to show off. Later, Juju joins them to try on her outfit, and she can't believe how amazing Gojo's design is. She discusses with Gojo about the outfits, and as Marin is listening, she realizes that she's a complete moron in costume making compared to these two. They ask Marin for her opinion, and like a true Gen Z, she tells them that her costume is super ski by D Sigma. Then, Gojo puts on Marin's makeup, and following Juju's tips, he uses tape on Marin's eyes, which manages to make her eyes look different. When Marin finally gets to see herself in the mirror, she's overjoyed and starts hitting Gojo, refusing to believe how amazing she looks. Later, they go to the studio, and despite the rain, the girls still go inside and discuss how much they both love the characters they're cosplaying. Marin shyly asks Juju for a selfie, and when Juju says yes, Marin takes the picture and can't wait to upload it as her LinkedIn profile. Just then, Gojo walks in with a handsome man, shocking both girls. A week before, after Juju collapsed, she and Marin went away first, leaving Gojo with Shinju. Here, Gojo confronted Shinju about her true desire to cosplay, and Shinju told him that he was right and that there was a character she wanted to cosplay. She felt that, unlike her sister, she wouldn't be good enough to portray her character, but Gojo told her that after seeing some sweaty dudes cosplaying Nani at the cosplay event, he believed that Shinju could cosplay anyone she wanted. Then, Gojo asked her who she wanted to cosplay, and when she informed him that she wanted to play the main dude from the anime, Soma, Gojo realized how screwed they were considering her jug size, but Gojo believed there was a way. Firstly, Gojo lent her his uniform to match Soma's attire, but when she wore it, the buttons were unable to hold on for dear life due to the size of her melons. Gojo realized that they need to do something about her badonkadon, and while thinking about kimonos, he got the idea of using a wrap to turn her from thick as a pudding into flat as a cardboard. It manages to turn her into most celebrities before the BBL, but it's still not enough to emulate what Soma looked like, so Gojo did some research and found a magical tool called a beat holder that is the dream for any female crossdresser. Later, they bought the wig, and because they wanted to make it a surprise, Gojo cut it himself, but he felt under pressure, which relieved Shinju to see as she always thought that Gojo could do anything. Gojo confessed how she also once saw someone that way, but after he saw her flaws and was still able to smile, it inspired him. Then, Gojo puts the wig and makeup on Shinju, and it takes us to the present, where the girls can't believe how hot she looks and almost beg to have Soma's babies from her non-existent baby maker. Shinju looks back to Gojo, and she smiles, knowing that the cosplay is a success. Marin can't contain her excitement, and she takes a picture with all the cosplayers involved. They start taking cosplay pictures with Juju going first, but when Marin steps in to join her, Juju feels a million aura coming from her as Marin stares deeply into her, but it quickly vanishes when Marin is unable to contain her goofy smile. The group starts joking around, and while Juju hates when people joke during photo shoots, she can't help but smile with them. Later, Juju confronts Gojo and thanks him for taking care of Shinju, promising to pay him back his money for the cosplay. Juju feels guilty for not knowing her own sister's desire for wanting to cosplay, but Gojo assures her that just like everybody else, Shinju also has things she struggles to express. Seeing how Gojo is able to treat her precious sister with care, Juju realizes just how much of a Chad Gojo really is. That night, the sisters go look at the pictures they have taken, and Juju tells Shinju how she's jealous of her for not being able to pull off Soma's cosplay. It surprises Shinju to hear this, and while she can't believe Juju's insecurities, Juju assures her that it's not because she hates her flat self, but it's because she knows that she has her limits. Meanwhile, after seeing the pictures, Marin is on a call with Gojo, telling him how fun the photo shoot was. It amazes her how Gojo is able to also do a guy's makeup on Shinju, but after Gojo mentions how Shinju came to his place for them to practice, Marin gets jealous, thinking they practice putting other things on Shinju's face other than makeup. Days later, Gojo finishes another one of Marin's cosplay, Veronica, who is a busty tan beauty who will choke you with her snoo-snoo. Marin expressed how much she wanted to become her, and while Gojo was worried about the tan, Marin told him not to worry. She then arrives at Gojo's place looking like the reverse Michael Jackson, and she tells Gojo that she put foundation all over her body. Marin asks to borrow his shower, and after Gojo lends her his clothes, she walks out with a look that causes Gojo's cocktail sausage to turn into a bratwurst. She then shows him the things she bought to turn her into Veronica, starting from the fake chains to the fake background for the photo shoot. But when she mentions her failure in getting fake canine teeth, Gojo pulls out fake teeth made from fake nails. She puts on the teeth and wears the foundation, but during it, Gojo has his eyes on the underjiggles and thinks to himself how he would love to get under those puppies. Later, they go shopping to get some fresh air, but this time, Marin takes Gojo to a men's store to get him some fresh drip. He tries a few of the outfits, and while he hates every single one of them, Marin folds like a lawn chair seeing him in different shirts and wanting to have his babies. They continue their small adventure, getting matching shirts, buying hats, and eating foods that make them look like a couple. Afterward, Marin expresses how much she's excited to cosplay Veronica, but Gojo tells her that he can't help her. She demands an explanation, and while she initially thinks that this is the end of their cosplaying journey, Gojo informs her that he can't help because of how much of her plots are exposed as Veronica. He expresses how he's afraid he might bust in the process, and Marin starts hitting him out of relief, telling him scared she was with him leaving her. However, she feels somewhat happy knowing Gojo sees her that way and teases him, saying that she would gladly send him unfiltered pictures for his night pump materials. Days later, they go to a manga cafe where smelly 2D loving dudes like to hang out, and Gojo feels uncomfortable with how close Marin is to him. She shows him a slice of life manga about a succubus, Liz, who's trying to get her man to sleep, but despite her love for Liz, Marin feels like she can't cosplay her, deeming herself not cute enough. Gojo looks at her like he has seen a ghost, thinking that this is dumb, and tells Marin that she can pull off any cosplay she wants. Marin gets flustered hearing this and agrees to do it. Gojo asks what a succubus is, and Marin informs him that they are female demons who drain you from your creamy baby batter in your sleep and send you to meet Ko. It confuses Gojo how that is a slice of life, but Marin tells him to read it, so he does, and after seeing how it's both degenerate and wholesome, Gojo feels fuzzy inside. However, he notices that, unlike previous cosplays, Liz is drawn with minimal details, which makes it hard for him to make costumes from. A week later, they finish making the costume and Marin books them a cheap place to use for their photo shoot, but once he enters, Gojo realizes that he's in a love hotel. While Marin is excited to be there, Gojo is panicking after imagining how many people got creamed there. Gojo tries to imagine it as a studio, but after seeing the breakdancing pickle and the fact that Marin is there with him, his mind wanders where degeneracy lies. Then, while Marin goes to the bedroom to change into her cosplay outfit, Gojo spends his time lost in his own thoughts. He turns on the TV and quickly turns it off after seeing it's a movie starring Johnny Sins with a busty grandma, but he turns it back on and watches it in low volume for the culture. Suddenly, Marin pops out in full costume and sings praises at Gojo for how amazing he made the costume look. Unlike her praises, Gojo feels that the costume he made is not good enough as it's not as accurate as the manga, but Marin assures him that his costumes are the best as so far, everything he touched has turned to gold. Then he puts on her makeup and manages to make Marin look like Liz in person. But Marin feels a little embarrassed. Gojo shows Marin the shots he wants to recreate and pulls out props for them to use, which excites them both. They start taking multiple different pictures resembling what happened in the manga, and for the last one, Gojo wants to recreate where Liz is singing the lullaby, but when they do it, it still lacks flavor. Marin suggests a first-person view, so Gojo orders him to get on top of him. She asks him if he's sure, and Gojo tells her absolutely, so Marin carefully sits on top of him. They take the picture and praise it for being their best one, but suddenly, they can hear loud happy noises from a woman getting the pipe next door. Gojo realizes the position they're in and begs Marin to get off him, but it's too late as his rocket rises vertically, the light dims, and the bed shakes like it's ready for action. They calm themselves and slowly relax their body to get ready for one session of Pound Town, but before they get to pumping, the room phone rings, asking them to check out. It blocks the both of them, leaving them both shocked by what could have happened if the phone didn't stop them. On the elevator, another couple walks in, and when the girl sees Marin, she knows damn well that both of their cheeks jiggled that day. Back home, Gojo can't help himself but replay that moment with one hand in his pants. Days later, Gojo is busy drawing dolls' faces when Marin texts him asking for his help. It turns out that she needs his help with her homework after her father threatens to disown her if she doesn't do her homework. She initially wanted to go to the summer festival, but because of her homework, she couldn't go there. She explains that it's because she booked herself a lot of jobs, and when Gojo asks her what her job is, she shows him a magazine with her on it and explains that she's actually a model. Gojo can't believe his eyes, and Marin reveals that the reason why she took a lot of jobs is because she wants to get her own camera. During a break, they watch a horror movie, and while Marin is confident at the start, she gets scared while Gojo shows no reaction. After the movie ends, Gojo keeps wanting to rewatch it while Marin refuses to look out of fear. Later, Marin finishes her English homework, which is her last one, but Gojo points out that she has yet to do her math homework, and here, Marin realizes that her dumb left it at school. They go to school to retrieve it, and as it's approaching the evening, Gojo invites her over for dinner, which she accepts. Just then, she sees the school pool and drags Gojo there with her while nobody is there. She tries to dip her feet in but ends up falling over into the water, and when Gojo realizes that she can't swim, he jumps in to save her. They both end up wet, and it bamboozles Gojo with how Marin likes going to the beach despite not being able to float, let alone swim. Marin tells Gojo that just like a lot of things in life, she can still have fun despite not knowing everything about it. Gojo laughs at her statement and relates it to how he had fun painting dolls despite being horrible at it. Just then, Marin invites him to go to a festival, and Gojo agrees to go as long as she does her homework. The next day, Gojo greets his grandpa goodbye as he's about to go to a festival with Marin. He rides the train and arrives at a crowded festival. But among them, he finds Marin in her yukata. Gojo folds and ogles over her new look, but Marin notices it. She teases him for having a kink towards her nape, but instead of denying it, Gojo admits that he does, which motivates Marin to show off her nape to him even more. As they walk to the festival, Marin keeps showing him her neck, and being the gluttonous pig that she is, Marin drags Gojo to buy various kinds of food. Then they head towards the festival, and Gojo tells Marin that he has never seen fireworks show before. Just then, the fireworks start flying, presenting them with a beautiful showcase right above their head, and because Gojo never experienced it before, he gets lost in the beautiful show he's watching. Before, Gojo could only listen to the noises of fireworks from his room, but today he gets to watch beautiful fireworks with an even more beautiful person, Marin. While everyone else is watching the fireworks, Gojo has her eyes on Marin, realizing how truly beautiful she is, but when she looks back at him, she shows him her smurf-colored tongue, which makes the moment a little cuter. Later, because of walking too much, Marin gets her feet injured, so Gojo puts her on his back, and he can't help but feel her puddings on his back. Gojo carries her and tells her how happy he is to be there with her. Marin tells him that they will go again next year, and Gojo feels happy to know that she would love to go with him again. Back home, Gojo is about to sleep when Marin calls him and tells him that she wants to hear his voice as he's too scared to sleep. Hours before, when she was bathing, she heard a small noise and started screaming. She begs him to put her on speaker and help her fall asleep, so he does it. They continue talking for hours about various things, and Marin expresses how she still wants to do more things with him by her side, with Gojo thinking the same thing after the great year he had with her. As Gojo is falling asleep, Marin takes her opportunity to tell Gojo how much she loves him, knowing that he won't hear her, and it feels like they're right next to each other, sleeping to each other's company. If you watched this anime recap and made it to the end, comment Busty Cosplayer. If you like anime recaps like this, watch this video.